Major, you talked a lot during camp about that being development was your sole focus during camp. Now that you guys switch into game week mode and into the season, how much development do you still expect from your players during the year, and how much focus is on there? And then what's the new mode that you guys get into now?
Well, it's obviously it's week by week now. As we're facing opponents, we're always developing, always. Whether it's on the field, off the field, in the classroom, we're always serving our student athletes, our players, and they're always developing. But Sunday was just a hard turn towards Rice. There was a few things last week as we started school that we started to implement in some scout periods, just kind of introduce. So you had basically an off week to prepare. But yesterday we turned solely towards Rice and everything that they present on all three phases of the game.
Major game notes, no depth chart. Is that to keep us?
Is that microphone necessary?
Is that? Well, yeah, they want it.
It is. I just would love to take a video of you guys and see why we're using this microphone.
We can freestyle later.
There we go.
No depth chart. Is that to keep us guessing, or did you come out of camp with positions that you're just not ready to decide on, or what was behind that?
No, we've never released a depth chart prior to our first game. We've always released one going into our second game because we've already played our first one. But one thing that we've talked about to all of our players is we don't really look at it in terms of starters. There's guys who play and there's guys who don't play. And how much you play is based on the trust that your staff and your players have in you and your production level. So it's very simple. You want to play more, create more trust, have more production. But we don't get into the depth charts as much as we talk about these are the guys that are going to play and these are the guys who haven't produced enough or developed enough trust in their coaches and their teammates to go play.
Major, Ryder, we know what Ed Oliver can do. Do you think he'll do something that surprised you this season?
Absolutely. He has every other season. So I'm looking forward to watching him play. You can tell, what type of person that is, how competitive he is. You can see the fall camp schedule start to wear a little bit on him from the standpoint of I want to go play somebody else, coach. So it's time for him, and it's his time of the year.
He doesn't seem to he doesn't let all the accolades that surround him affect him at all. He just, like you said, he just wants to go play football.
Yeah, I think we're all human, and to some extent those things seep into your mind, but he does an outstanding job of just keeping it about ball. Just play with great effort, play with great intensity, just keep it about the game.
Major, how much do you get from now you've gotten a chance to see Rice play a full game? How much does that help you in your prep going forward?
A lot. It's confirmation. It's confirmation on some things that you see, whether it be some Michigan defense, some Stanford offense, some special teams from Maryland. It's confirmation on a lot of things that you think, but you need to have some game tape to verify that.
To follow up, Mark, how much, I guess, do you rely on that Stanford tape? And then you look at, I think they ran 50 times in that game. That's a staple of what Stanford did. Are you careful about how much you try to look into the Stanford stuff, or do you think he brought a lot, from what you've seen, a lot over from that?
That's the difficulty of being able to, when you go back and you look at three different sides of the ball with three different universities, three different, same coordinators, but, certain things that work with, Stanford players may not fit Rice, or Maryland special teams may not fit. So you got to look and see, what correlates and what was run at those universities and also ran at Rice, and those are things that you somewhat hang your hat on. So all coaches are going to adjust to their personnel, but you kind of know the personality after watching that offense and watching that offense at Stanford, that there's a lot of similarities and that you've been practicing some of the right things, and you see some of the same things on the defensive side of the ball.
Major, do you feel like you're not going to have any problem getting your team to focus with the intensity level after watching what Rice probably could have, that trip for them, what they and the teammates played to try to get them to focus with this being your first game as second?
No, focus will not be an issue for our team. We were solely focused on Rice. That's the whole conversation. That's everything we're talking about. It's our first game. This is a rivalry game. This is a game that we play for our city. We understand that this is our hometown, and if you're going to talk all the H-Town takeover stuff, you better take over your town first. And that's where our mind is, and that's what we're going to go do.
Boy, I had one just now.
Did you forget it?
It must have not been important.
No, that's not true. I'm sure it was important.
While I think of that one, just okay, here it goes. Major, the new rule with the how you can do the red shirt and the four games. Have you kind of pinpointed guys that you think will redshirt, or is that very much still up in the air and you haven't ruled out anybody, to start the year?
Haven't ruled out anyone. We've told all those guys, if you're good enough, you're old enough. With this rule, it gives you the opportunity to play guys and get some experience, and so that's something that we have to adjust to weekly. In terms of after week 1, these freshmen played. How did they play? How can they contribute to us? Where will they help us in terms of our depth? And then, then you start looking at it in terms of, all right, we've got 3 more with them. We've got 3 more with them. Are they going to be somebody that we just need to absolutely take the red shirt off now and just that guy's going to play the next 11 regular season games? Or is this a guy that we need to look at and say, hey, we need to pick and choose our spots with him? So that will be evaluated weekly.
The transfer rule, just expounded on it. Good thing, bad thing, as far as whether you reach out to, what players you reach out to, and what players do you, what decisions goes into picking that particular person as far as using the transfer.
Well, obviously all the rules that we're putting forth should be in the best interest of the student athlete, and that's giving that person, that young person an opportunity to transfer. It's trying to eliminate some of the back channels that people use to find out who's transferring. So I think it's great that there's a portal that all the names go into. There's a database system that as soon as that young man or young lady says that she wants to transfer, then everybody knows at the same time. I think it's a good rule for the student athlete. At the end of the day, it's still about transferring a 4-year institution and going somewhere else. So there's a lot of factors that have to go into that decision for the student athlete for them to make the right decision. Transfer is a very easy thing to do, but you've got to go live life on the other side once you do it. So I just wish that all student athletes would think a little bit harder before they leave their institutions.
Major, in lieu of depth chart, I was wondering on 3 positions if there's anything you can say. One, the inside linebacker spot with Darian and Roman, one of the end spots with Peyton and Isaiah, and then that corner spot where it was Alexander, and I think you had either one of the Smiths or Nick Watkins. Right.
Well, to answer your question, it kind of fits into the depth chart. Those are or situations. We want to play more than 2 corners. We want to play more than 2 inside backers in a 3-4. We want to be able to play multiple guys. Same thing with our defensive line. We want to be able to rotate Peyton Turner, Isaiah Chambers, Emil Fleming, and rotate guys up front. So that's why we've taken the approach, and our players understand it. There are no starters. I mean, obviously there's guys that have to go out on the field and take the first snap, but from that point on, how you produce is how much you'll play.
Safe to say that you feel like you couldn't have done this last year based on numbers at some of the spots. Right. Corner, I think you were down to 3 that you played late. Right. You really couldn't.
Right, and that was the purpose in bringing in Nick and bringing in Darian is to have these depth problems, like we say, and it's week 1, so let's But you want those rotations going on at corner and at inside backer and at defensive line to keep your defense fresh.
Major, is there any advantage that it's a road game, but it's right down the street, that you can kind of keep your guys in familiar area before a game, and then also just the rivalry itself, being able to play Rice?
Absolutely. I think these type of rivalries, whether it's UCLA, USC, Houston, Rice, anything that's inner city is obviously helpful. It's great for all the families to be able to be there. It's great for all the alumni, the universities to be able to share in that. It's great for the city itself to be there. Even if you weren't a alumni of either one of those institutions, it's still your city playing each other. So and obviously the ability to call an away game, a home game, and you obviously get the opportunity to go to your home hotel, go through those procedures and all those things. So guys are used to that. So there's a lot of advantages to it, but number one is just getting to be able to play in front of your families.
You expect a lot of red?
Absolutely. Expect there to be a ton of red, early too, not just at 11 o'clock.
Major, on the conference call a little while ago, you mentioned that you felt great about coming out of camp and that you also thought you were fairly healthy. For week 1, is there any? Normally, I guess you only talk when there's somebody out or just season type. Anything like that going into the season?
No, just your typical, bumps, bruises, bangs, sprains here and there. But everybody should be full go. We'll see what happens. Obviously, I'm not trying to set you up for something because there's things that happen during the week. But right now, we're a healthy ball club and ready to get back out on the field tomorrow. you talking about the kickoff return?
Yeah, the
rule?
kickoff return.
Fair
Did that
catch?
affect how you looked at people or evaluated people in camp? And then at punt return, I think you've had maybe a handful of guys that were trying out during camp. You kind of see
Yes.
how you're going to go with that.
Yeah, rule number one is taking care of the football, and that means good decisions and obviously being able to get underneath the ball. We've been blessed here to have guys like Brandon Wilson for a couple of years. Last year, John Leday had some good returns, but we put the ball on the ground. So number one is possession of the football. Number two is great decisions. So we've looked at different guys who have those skills, and we're going to work with those guys in terms of the rules and how we want to play that down. But feel very confident about the guys in the kickoff return game. They've done a great job, especially in the last 2 weeks.
We talked to De'Eric last week, and he was mentioning some of the little intricate parts of the offense that he's had to learn. Noticed out there in the open here that we got to see where it was barely a one-step drop. It was kind of just a half and a throw, and he said that was one of the things he's had to get used to, that getting rid of the ball quickly. Are those some of the things in this offense, just with the tempo that you see that the quarterback, you get the ball out of his hands quickly, and that kind of had to be learned a lot, more during the spring? And
yeah, there's some different mechanics, from a traditional kind of a drop back team, a lot of RPO, a lot of putting the ball in the back's belly, then pulling it out, seeing some things downfield. So there's some ride and decide type things that you have to do as a quarterback. There's some things that you have to pull out quickly and have a quick arm. And De'Eric has a strong arm, but he also has a very quick arm too. So he's adapted to this scheme very, very well. And Coach Browse has done a great job of understanding his strengths and his weaknesses and trying to obviously showcase those.